Hello and welcome. If you're here for the first time, hello. We're two kids just being stupid, I guess, and trying to make a video. We're trying to start up a car website, and so this is how we're going to start it. So this here is my 2021 WRX STI. As you can see, I'm pretty lucky to have this as a high school kid, but just sort of going through, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a quick review. I know they don't make them anymore, but if you guys are looking to buy something used, I would say this is a great car to buy. And the market is getting kind of crazy, and I do still think it does compete with today's newer sport hatchbacks, you know, like relatively affordable sports cars. As you can see right here, this is the first thing I've done. It's just a muffler delete. I would go for a full exhaust system, but I'm broke, and this was the best thing I could get. Highly recommend, by the way. The stock exhaust on this is ridiculously quiet. The only thing that's good about it is the idle. Everything else just kind of shit. Coming over here, we can kind of see that the previous owner had put on some of these red mud flaps. Please, if you're going to do this well. He did not, and so now they're just kind of pain in my ass that I'm too lazy to get rid of. Coming inside, we can see the interior here. Decently nice. The Recaros with the leather and Alcantara. Those are nice seats, you know, 6-speed manual, of course, and still that manual e-brake. Coming around here to the front, we can see that the car has been a little bit dirty, but you know, I'm not gonna get a car wash. Fuck you. And then you can see, so the newer ones, they have sort of this like plasticky shit in the front. Don't really know how I feel about it. I do think it looks better than the the earlier years, like the 2015s through the 17s, but I might go and get myself an aftermarket bumper because just I think it looks a little weird. Finally, these wheels, which are caked in brake dust because my lazy ass doesn't clean them. These wheels are really nice. However, I do wish they still made them with gold, so I've been thinking about possibly getting some gold wheels for this thing. All right, that's going to end our outside review. How about we go take a look on the inside?
All right, guys, so I am Henry. I'm the second person helping out with this website, and I actually just got out to ask Finn if he would do a little startup for us. So let's get a little startup. All right, Finn, hit it. So with these mufflers delete, sounds amazing. But yeah, this is kind of what to expect if you get a muffler delete. But I can tell you beforehand, it definitely sounded nothing like that. Very quiet car, very inconspicuous if you want to get a race car.
Here's what she's doing, but
all right, guys, so little interior check. Looking good from the aesthetics wise. I think it looks very open, very clean.
Yeah. I definitely like it. I will say, before we get into this, a couple complaints. First things first. The car does not, like right here you can see we have Intelligent, Sport Sharp, and Sport, right? Sport Sharp's being the sportiest, Intelligent being your fuel saver, and then Sport is just like, you know, a little bit more than average. My issue is if I put in Sport Sharp here by sliding this, right, it doesn't stay in Sport Sharp when I shut off the car. As you can see here, when I shut off the car, and then when I turn it back on, as you watch, it's back now. See, it's back in Sport there. It's not in Sport Sharp, which I have to do here. So that is like one of the biggest complaints. Again, it's not really a big deal. Also, on a similar note, it does not save the traction settings. So by pressing the traction control button just once, which is on the left side over here, right there, which is actually very convenient. I really like having it there. The one issue is that, see, press once for track mode, which gives you a little bit looser grip, and then if you hold it for 3 seconds, then you get the full off. So the full off is when you really want to do stupid shit like some burnouts, or which you can do in this car. Would not recommend from personal experience, but you can do that if you want. Moving on, the later years do have Apple CarPlay. I actually think this is not wireless, just wired, but I actually think this is the peak of where media should end. I like my wired CarPlay. I like my relatively small screen. I don't really need anything more than that. Anything more just kind of feels unnecessary, and it just kind of takes away from the driving experience. Finally, moving down here, we can see that the STI does have this diff function, so I can adjust how my differential behaves on the fly. So with the plus being more in the front, the minus being more power goes to the rear. And of course, you can always hit this manual button and manually adjust your differential and get a full lock. That's like one of the great things about this car, and I really, really enjoy that. Again, most of the time I just leave it in auto, but you know, you can always have some fun. Finally, climate controls, it works fine. Up here, you can kind of see, gives you general information. I will say, so like that you don't really need. The one thing that I will say that kind of gets annoying is there's none that just have your your boost. You might want to get a little closer there if they can't see, but the thing that really has your boost and your like actual MPG or how much gas you have, which kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. I mean, again, you always have the, you know, analog, but sometimes it's just nice to kind of see, like, do I have 180 miles, 160 miles? And of course you have your full boost gauge here, and then clock, and now we're back to where I always just leave it. Moving on to, let's get this thing on the road, and I'm gonna show you what it's like to actually drive it. All right, so we are back on the road giving this car a little drive. Now, I will say right off the bat, without the muffler delete, you can kind of hear it there. It sounds pretty good, I would say. It also does crackles and pops for you if you do it right, which does not come with the stock exhaust, so that's just a little annoyance there. But with no tuning, no real adjustment, this car can see right there, you got a little crackle and pop. Now this car is very fun to drive. As you can see, I'm gonna send it through this corner here. Now that. But one big issue that I have, first things first, the gearing is short, which is great, but on the highway, 75 in 6th gear, you're already hitting about 3,000 RPM, which means it's not great on the highway. It does get a little droning, but you know, that's not what this car is meant to do. This car is meant to handle back roads, tight corners. That all-wheel drive system kicks in and keeps giving you power. Just kind of coming through town here, it's can be quiet if you want it to be. I would say if you want it to be quiet though, definitely keep the stock exhaust. The muffler delete does give it a little bit of noise, as you can hear there. But keep the stock exhaust. You know, you can keep it very quiet. It's quieter even than like, you know, like a SUV with a V8 in it. So like just a standard one. So I would say honestly for noise out of the box, I'd give this car probably a 5 out of 10. Another thing that I can feel while driving is this car does not have auto rev match downshifting, which for those of you who don't know, when you're driving out, okay, someone's just gonna pull right in front of me. That's always a blast. Yeah, okay. Anyway, a big issue that I have with this, well, it's not an issue. It doesn't have auto rev match downshifting, which for those of you who don't know, when you downshift this car, any manual car for that matter, you're supposed to give it a little blip of the throttle to keep the revs where they are so that you're not destroying your transmission. Now this car does not have a feature that does that for you automatically. So you have, which, you know, for an enthusiast is great. I love it. I love being able to do it myself. But for the kind of daily driving in traffic, I will say there are some times where I would wish I just had, you know, a little bit of an auto, just kind of like don't have to worry about it, can just kind of do whatever I want. Coming through now here, I will say that this car performs really, really well for its class. I would say, honestly, 310 horsepower out of the gate, you know, limited slip differential. It can still keep up with today's modern, new small hatchbacks, like, again, the GR Corolla, I would say the Civic Type R. It's still in that class, even though it's about 2-3 years old now. Kind of coming through here, again, the clutch, light as a feather. I will say, learning to drive this car, learning to drive stick on this car isn't easy. The throttle is very, very responsive, which is great for once you know how to actually drive, but when you're just trying to get it to roll without like over revving it or stalling out when you're learning is no easy matter. Again, this car is just drives great, feels really great, and you know, with the spoiler, it is somewhat of a head turner. I will ask Henry, what were your first impressions of this car just walking in? As someone who doesn't own this thing, what do you have to say?
I thought it was quite sick. I thought the spoiler again was pretty obnoxious, but you know, it is an STI, so that is kind of a staple of the STI. But you know, to me, I really like the general, just like all the lines look really clean, beautiful color. I loved the brake calipers. What else did I just like immediately caught my eye? The badging is great. You know, I love how it says STI, you know, basically everywhere. You know, you're never forgetting what you're in. It's just a very clean car. I like that the interior isn't too, you know, over, you know, complicated. It isn't very, it's very user friendly, I'd say. And then in terms of just kind of its stancing, like I think it has a lot of potential to be a pretty sick car, depending on what Finn wants to do with it. But yeah, I think it's a very good, great looking car. Sounds amazing after you got the muffler delete. But yeah, I'd say my only complaint really would be the wheels. I would say not a huge fan of the coloring. You know, Finn kind of mentioned it was an STI, so it would be great to see the gold wheels on there. But other than that, that's about it. It looks nice. It's a very, very clean car. And yeah, it still carries that STI aesthetic all throughout. The interior, the exterior. It's just a very, very, very clean driven car.
I would say, coming through back to driving here, the shift throws in this car are very short, very quick, very notchy, and I really like that. But I will say, if you prefer sort of a smoother, longer throw, I would go with a Honda. Those are always good fun. Finally, coming in over here. Okay, that lady has her feet sticking out of the car. But we're not going to get to that. This car is, I would just say overall it's a great car to drive, but I want to get to talk about a few other little minor complaints. First of all, this kind of gloss black here. Some people like it. Me personally, I think that it just kind of looks a little bit cheesy, and it gets dirty and scratched up pretty quick. Luckily, I haven't been, you know, fucking dangling keys around here or anything, but you can kind of see there's, you know, just kind of builds up dust and it really shows. I don't love that about the interior, but you know what? You know, it's like apples and oranges here. Like, really, it's not that big a deal. Coming through again, the volume knob, everything, knobs, hard buttons for things. I mean, these are capacitive, but AC controls are all not in the infotainment. I love that. I hate newer cars where you have to go through the infotainment to click these things. Heated seats, just a button right here. Everything, this is the last simple modern car, in my opinion. This is the last era of just simple yet new. And so to sort of talk about what everyone hasn't heard me talk about, the Subi issues. This chassis, the V8 chassis, really kind of fixed a lot of the earlier issues, so the head gaskets aren't going to blow on you. But I will say, this car does still, you know, require a little bit of extra care, extra maintenance. Really change that oil at about 5,000 miles. Like, if you're not modding it, if you're modifying it, make your oil intervals shorter. And also, I would just like to say that this car, to modify this car is really, really hard. The stock Subaru short block in this thing really can't handle more than 400 wheel horsepower reliably. I mean, I know people can get it up to crazy amounts, and I'm not saying that you can't do that, but I would just say sort of keeping with a just sort of not having issues every day. It starts up every day. You're not really gonna have to worry about it. 400's your max. It's also really expensive to get it to that point. This car requires a lot of, you know, parts and things to make it run reliably. And if you're going to track this car, a baffled oil pan is a must. So maybe even some catch cans, but I would honestly say an air oil separator too would just do the job just fine. Kind of going through this car, I would say when I get to the price of this car, some of you are going to be a little shocked, but so I paid $45,000 for this car after tax. It had about 4,000 miles on it used. I know that's like super rare fine, but this car had not depreciated. It had actually appreciated since its listing price. However, I will say, you know, with the market being crazy, it was kind of like that wasn't really a surprise to me. But these cars are holding their value. I would say say if you have a low mileage, later years WRX STI, relatively stock, minor mods, you probably have, if anything, you've gained value. I saw one of these with 10,000 miles on it, so much more, like about 5,000 more than my car has currently, going for about $50,000 at pre-tax. So, I mean, obviously nobody's gonna pay that, but you know, just sort of like thinking about it, it's like in a couple of years down the line, these cars are gonna be worth a lot as enthusiasts sort of turn towards as modern cars become more and more computerized, more and more sort of less intuitive, less sort of driver oriented, people are going to come back to these sort of later generation old cars as sort of a homage to like what things could be. I have already started to miss this car. I was away for a couple days and already I was itching to get back in the driver's seat. This car just kind of, it hugs the road. It really, like, every input is felt. You don't feel like you're ever like out of your depth, and it's really easy to push your comfort zone and just kind of try something new with this car, which I just love, because it's not often that you get to drive a car that's this fast, that's like as fast as this, yet is as daily drivable. And finally, I would just have to say that for my plans for this car, it is still on warranty and I'm broke, so I don't really want to deal with any of its issues, but you know, maybe a tune, an intake, maybe eventually a downpipe or something like that. Things are coming up, things will be on the way, but as of right now, just keeping this car stock, it's a great car stock. The issues come when you modify them to an extent. I don't want to like put it out there like that people who modify Subarus just instantly destroy the reliability, but you know, there's a certain point where it's kind of like you might want to invest in like an IAG short block, you know, just to kind of really like secure that reliability there. But that wraps up my opinions of this car. If Henry has any final last words before we end this, feel free to issue those now.
No, I think everything that was said was definitely echoed throughout the video. So I can't drive this car because I don't fully know how to drive stick, so still gonna be learning that fairly soon. My dad needs to get a car that can drive manually, so he can actually teach me how to drive it. But yeah,
I can always teach you to drive in this. So.
Yeah, we'll probably crash it, but that's all right. I think it's a very fast car. It's got some great up to it. You know, my Jeep did kind of follow suit, but he was kind of very surprised about that.
Well, okay, we're not gonna get into that yet. That was, look, I was shifting before I even got to 4,000, dude. I wasn't even, like, I didn't even start in second gear. If I dropped a gear, you would have been toast.
Yeah.
So let's just keep it at that.
No, I'm not saying a Jeep would beat this car in a race. It's definitely a lot faster than my Jeep. But no, it's a great car.
Yeah, I will say, to his point, this thing isn't a supercar. Do not go out there expecting that you're going to be that much faster than average traffic. You are faster than traffic, but you aren't a Lamborghini, all right? Like, you're still, don't start thinking that you can cut up in this car and that you're going to gap people like crazy. It's got 300 horsepower. There's plenty of cars on the road with over that. So just keep that in mind and sort of be humble about it. And finally, again, kind of another last word here is don't do stupid shit. This car is really conspicuous with this blue paint job and the wing. You know, you're in the exhaust now. You're gonna stand out. So if you're doing stupid shit, like, you're just gonna get pulled over, like, hands down. Like, I mean, I remember, like, I got pulled over recently, and it was like the guy in front of me was going as fast as I was going. I was just following behind him, but because my car looked the way it did, sounded the way it did, there was no way I was not going to get away. I was going to get away with it. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, I would say that's going to wrap up our video here.
Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like. Wait, you can't even do that. It's on the website. But yeah, all right. Well, catch you in the next review.
And website is coming. We'll let you all know when that will be out. But catch you guys in the next video.
Peace.